Are you ready?
I'm ready.
He's ready before. I was not ready. This is take 2. John Peckman podcast coming to you from Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Beautiful downtown Portland. Come through one satellite. Start looking left. There. Got it. If you want to have your very own podcast here in our studio, listen after all of this for Dave. And anybody who wants to come on here and talk to me, just hit me up. I don't know who's listening. And today we have Mr. Jeff Pitchell, finally.
Hey, John.
Here. Not of any of this is rehearsed, obviously, but I've been rehearsing this line. I've been waiting for this moment. Thank you for coming to my podcast on my. It's an old story.
He did very well.
Very well. So one time we were, I don't know where we were.
Florida, Jupiter, Florida.
Oh, okay.
I remember.
And neither of us were saying anything. We were just like, I wouldn't say hungover, but just
tired.
The next day, just kind of we're at this place eating. And we're listening to this blowhard at the next table.
Oh yeah.
My boat. Was that sitting at my house? And me and Jeff were just looking at each other like,
oh man.
And then the minute that we got in the van, we're like, my van, my.
I think you got up and imitated him.
Did I really?
In front of the whole. He had his whole family there, like 20 people. He's like, he did very, very well.
I can't even tell you how well.
Oh, yeah. And my boat, my house,
Yeah.
He was real braggadocious. And you just stood up and went, and the whole table looked over at us. I think that we all developed a very deranged sense of humor from like dealing with the music business night after night. It just, nothing made us laugh unless it was over the top.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's immunity to just regular.
From the lunchbox against the forehead.
Yeah,
McDonald's.
No.
Boy, think about it.
So
We have
punchy.
a lot of good stories. It's just whether we can retrieve them or not.
Well, I remember, I don't remember doing that, but that sounds like something.
Sounds like you. Yeah.
Definitely.
You definitely did. You came out of your shell. Or just like when you brought the trophies out, you put on a bunny suit or a suit at the
that's right.
West Springfield
That's right.
theater.
Yeah,
you found a bunch of trophies and you brought them out and said
trophies.
thank you to the audience.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That was great.
Punchy. It happens. Yeah.
Well, we're artists.
Artists. I'm an artist. Yeah, there's no questioning.
We're misunderstood, I guess we have in common.
Or we're understood and just dismissed.
Or in just small circles.
Yeah, like I get it, but I don't care. So tell us what you're doing.
All right.
Jeff Pitchell's been around. Everybody knows Jeff Pitchell.
John and I worked together for years.
Yep.
I'm still going. He's still going. We're making music, recording music, marketing music, booking shows.
Sure.
And after this COVID thing, finally starting to pick up again and have some good shows coming up, some collaborations.
Cool.
I guess you could see them on jeffpitchellofficial.com or Facebook, however people are communicating these days.
Sure.
I'm still not that savvy with the social media thing. I don't know.
Right.
I'm trying, just like all of us.
Yeah, we're old.
I thought, we are. And I thought that playing and practicing was enough.
Yeah, right. Surprise.
And I think we both realize that, like, all these bands that are making it are, like, even better at social media and marketing and all that.
Right.
Maybe better than their craft or whatever. I always just thought the craft was enough. But
right, I know.
Obviously, from all the people you've played with, all the stars over the years, that your talent speaks for itself, but the marketing aspect of it is actually the turnoff in a way.
Yeah, I agree. I think it might be, I don't want to say generationally, but yeah, I still find it somehow, probably like yourself, somehow distasteful to be relentlessly self-promoting.
Yeah.
But if you come, because we're comparing it to when, you didn't have to do that, where now kids are just like, that's part of it. So they don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't quite bring myself to.
Well, there's a meme that's like on Facebook where there's musicians at a funeral and everybody's standing around the casket, and the musician's like, "Did you know Saturday night I'll be playing it?" So he's like the memes of the guy promoting his next show at like somebody's funeral.
Yeah. Oh, I better go to that. I better go to that funeral. I better hit up that funeral.
Yeah. Or just to say where he's performing that weekend. So it's sort of like making fun of the self-promoting person. But, what I learned, too, from social media is, like, even Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood and Mick Jagger, they still do not have enough adulation. At least it looks that way from their posts every day. Like, look at me, look who I played with. Look, I think I wrote to Ronnie Wood and said, "You're a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, just
be one."
Yeah.
It's
right.
like, and that's not like me, and maybe that's like the side of us that got jaded or whatever. But I still think that being a musician is being an optimist, because we always have to just bring some form of brightness to no matter how dark the situation becomes. We always carry through and bring some happiness.
Unless you're me, then you just bring more darkness. I go, that's
the Prince of Darkness.
Sure.
I'll never forget the drum solo when we were touring with Peter Tork, and you took a drum solo in like New York State.
Oh boy! And
the whole place just was like, "Wow, that was unbelievable."
Really?
And then you said something to Peter like,
"Oh no."
Why I respected you was no matter who the celebrity was, you weren't going to change gears for anybody. And that's admirable at times, and then it could be completely inappropriate at times too.
This I've heard.
Yes, and so it's just like, where Peter was a nice guy,
sure,
but he wanted his success as a comedian to overlap as a musician, and I guess many musicians do that. Johnny Depp does that.
Sure.
These guys, they experience success in the film world or television world, and they just think, well, it's easy. I'll just cut in this lane and be just as,
What did I say? I don't remember.
I can't remember either, but you guys had some words for sure. But it wasn't like, it was you being you. That's who you are. You're not changing who you are for anybody. And you know what?
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, kind of.
Kind of.
That makes the circle smaller, but that's okay.
Well, it just seems like, one thing about you would always say to me before we play, let's just keep it real, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I got that from Dave. That's what.
Did you really? Yeah. Instead of like just, going into a shtick, and like Van Halen disappointed me in '81 at the New Haven Coliseum when they did that. I never saw him. They did that. David Lee Roth. Somebody threw in a firecracker and it almost blew up in his face. And he says, "I'll call whoever did that. Come on stage. I'll kick his ass." Yeah. Then I went and saw them the next night. They did the same thing.
So he had that prepared.
It was a play. Yeah, it was a play. Yeah. And I'm like, even Van Halen.
Sure, for when I'm a tough guy.
Yeah. And he was a karate guy and everything. Sure. So he was doing his kicks and.
He should have kicked the firecracker away. Imagine lightning reflexes.
Yeah, he could have just, And the funny thing is, there was a band I grew up with where people were throwing quarters at them when they were starting out.
Oh boy.
And they would just go out in the crowd and just beat people up because they didn't tolerate people throwing stuff at them. Sure. But on another note, this Judd, we're just talking about anything here.
Sure.
This Mrs. Judd, Naomi Judd, she committed suicide.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible. I didn't know that.
And
awful.
They found out like Sebastian from CCC posted like, well, I have no sympathy for people that kill themselves. There's no such thing as like suicide from mental illness. It's a choice, and he took a lot of heat for it. But what I'll say about that is, when Kurt Cobain died, Eddie Van Halen said, if making music makes you want to kill yourself, just go do something else. So I don't know. I'm just bringing that up to see your reaction to all these suicides. Your hero, I think that Hawkins was one of your heroes.
Yeah.
He committed suicide. The guy had millions of dollars. He was a rock star. What the heck? It just shows you that money and fame do not bring happiness.
That apparently is true. I guess we'll never understand it because, there's still the fantasy of like, all my problems will be solved if.
Yes.
And I actually have thought that. I've been like, I shouldn't say this, But I'm like, yeah, at least I'm not Taylor Hawkins. Imagine how that feels where you get everything and you still got to get loaded.
Right. I think that's why the Beatles went and took on the Indian philosophy. Just like I follow this guy, Sadhguru, who I met when our mutual friend, Paula Bacco, died in an accident.
Oh, yeah.
And he died and a couple other, I had so many people die in like 2 years. I got depressed. And I went to my doctor. He's like, "I'll take these Xanax." I went to the priest. He made me wait a month to see him. I said to him, "You're not the president, for God's sake."
Yeah, right,
priest.
right. Yeah.
And I figured,
dude, I've been a fan for years. I bought all your albums. I can't get.
Yeah. So then, and I find this Sadhguru on YouTube, How to Cope with Grief and Loss, and he made sense.
Really, I don't know.
Yeah, and then I went and saw him. He was at Harvard speaking. He came to Harvard to speak to the School of Medicine, the medical school. And I got a ticket. It was in the front row.
Hey.
I go with this guy, Dan, from Boston. We go, and we find ourselves chasing him down the street afterwards with like 2,000 Indian people.
Oh, boy.
And these girls are running next to me, and they say, "Why are you chasing him?" And I said, "I don't know. Why are you chasing him?"
Yeah, right.
And we were so overcome by him that when I met him, I said, no one had the guts to go up to him after they chased him.
Sure, yeah.
But me.
Yeah.
So I go up to him and I go, "I just want to thank you. You helped me cope with losing one of my best friends." And he just goes, "Well, thank you." But I knew he wasn't any bullshit.
And he said, "I'm appearing tomorrow.
Come and see me tomorrow night at the good circle
he said,
back.
"Thank you, my card."
Yeah. Well, he's like the antithesis of that.
Yeah, right.
So he said, "Oh, thank you," and all this stuff. And I realized when I was like a foot away from him that he was no bullshit, that his face was beaming with joy.
Yeah.
And that his book is called The Inner Engineering to Being Joyful. So that he claims that in 6th grade, they should have in math, social studies, and happiness or joyfulness and teach kids how to be happy because happy people are more successful. Happy people gravitate people to them. And there's so much truth to that. But seeing him say that and actually seeing him live that is two separate things.
Sure.
So for your listeners out there, Sadhguru,
okay,
he's
I'll check it out.
He's really, really happening.
I'll check it out. Check it out. Here, Dave's here.
Hey, Dave.
Act normal. Act normal.
We're talking about the water supply in the shed. The watershed.
That's right.
Listen, Dave, I love making Dave laugh because he really is a character.
Oh, yeah. Dave's the best.
He is a good
I always say that this whole thing, I don't know if he told you the story, but like,
no,
I'm not, no disrespect to the whole biz or whatever. I've listened to podcasts, but I barely knew what one is.
Right.
And he was doing something up here. I'm sure he told you the story. He started to build something up here and then it turned into something else. And every once in a while, for like, a year, I would go, "What are you doing up there?" He goes, "It's John Peckman Podcast Studio." And I okay, whatever. I ignored him. I just was like, he's kidding. And then I come in and he goes, "You start next week, get a guest." And I come in and this is all here. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Get a guest. You start next week. You're up on everything." I had
what a guy.
No idea. Like, I'm just like, I don't even know what it means. He goes, "Figure it out." So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's
what he does. He just goes, "You should be doing this. You just do it." I never in a million years would.
He gets it done. Whatever it is, he gets it done. Yeah,
yeah,
I admire him.
Oh yeah, no, Dave, it's his world.
Now, Dave, can you go in the other room so we can talk smack about you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. He said
he's gone. Yeah, he's a real punk. That's funny.
So how'd you get started in? Talk about your musical. Well, first of all, in case we forget too deep into it, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything in particular you want to plug now?
Okay.
This should be out by Friday.
Yeah, May 14th, we're at the Mapleview Farm in Granby outside. It's a beautiful venue. They make their beer there. Mm-hmm. They charge by the carload, so it's good if you're going to drink that.
Oh, good. I'll have people in the trunk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, under blankets because they usually go with flashlights and open them up and check. But, it's a great venue in Granby. It's not far.
Yeah.
20 miles up the road. Mapleview Farm, the whole band, 3 to 6, May 14th, Saturday. Okay. That's the next one. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks. And the other ones are on jeffpitchellofficial.com or the Facebook page or Instagram. But getting started in music. My mom's a pianist, singer. My mom's brother played guitar on the Grand Ole Opry. And my dad is a guitar player, and he plays piano.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
And my mother's brother was a pro, and he went to Nashville, and he played the Grand Ole Opry, and he was married a few times. And he was the most interesting character. He joined every religion there was. Wow. He became George Avac. He died about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And 88 years old, was still performing till the day he died. And then he went in a nursing home and passed away. But my parents did not want me to be like George. Because he was very committed so much to his music that the other people in his life suffered for it.
Sure.
And he wanted to make it bad, and he almost made it big, but he owned his own club in Wolcott, Connecticut, and he was a country singer.
Oh, wow.
And I think the mob came in there and said, "We're getting 30% or you're dead," and he told them to screw off, and they blew up a bunch of cars in the parking lot and put him under business. But he was a big influence on me, and then he would always say to me, you should just show all the kinds of different music you can play live. Don't be a one-horse pony. You give me some advice.
Sure.
And then my mom singing and playing piano in the house was always a lot of sad songs. And I always thought like my family was weird because on holidays they would just play music the whole time, and nobody else's families were like that. They just take turns playing music or songs.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then I think it just rubbed off. And then I had John Sales was my music teacher in 7th grade, and he taught 30 kids how to play "Rockin' Me Baby" on the guitar the first day of music class.
And this is in Rocky Hill?
Weathersfield.
Okay.
At Webb Junior High.
All right.
And if you couldn't play guitar, he threw you on the drums. If you couldn't play drums, he threw you on the bass.
Cool.
If you couldn't play bass, then you were a roadie or you were building the PA in wood shop for the band to take to another junior high school to play for an assembly.
Yeah, right. So you're part of it.
He got and then he had a couple guys go to the office who were just the discipline problems, and they would get on the phone and book the shows from the office. So the discipline problem.
So there's no escape.
You're going to be part, and everybody quit sports because he formed this allegiance of the Webb rock band, and you're either part of it or you're like,
that's cool.
You're nothing. Yeah. And the negative.
Is he still around?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yep. He's around, and he actually, we had a weird relationship where he didn't tolerate like any smoking weed. So we were in junior high school, and I was in the rock band, and then he had auditions for the rock band. I think I showed up stoned or something, and then he's like, "You're out." I said, man. I go, "How could you kick me out? I quit the soccer team."
Yeah.
He's like, "You're out, man." So,
oh boy.
Then like 20 years later, I invite him to my wedding because he influenced me so much. I didn't want to have any bad blood.
Sure.
And then he made me an honorary member of the Webb Rock Band because of the accomplishments I had in the music business. He wrote me a letter and said, you exceeded my expectations of you. Sure. I might have been wrong to throw you out for that, but he was a very strict teacher.
Sure.
And he wasn't having any of that,
Yeah, I hear you.
He said, "Listen, pot does not mesh with learning."
Sure.
And he was probably right, but again, everybody in junior high was experimenting with pot.
Sure.
And I showed up at like a rehearsal or something, and I was, probably baked or whatever. But
sure.
We're still friends. I went to his house and he asked me if his sons should be professional musicians. I found that very flattering. I told him, yes, the talent is there, but they don't want to go into this business.
Yeah.
As I tell my kids. But that's pretty much how I got started, John. And then you get hooked on it. It's a passion of love. We didn't choose it. It chose us. And as John Chatfield always says to me, it's not a blessing, it's a curse.
Boy.
How do you feel about that?
It's complicated.
Yeah.
It's both.
It's both.
I often feel not to be my abilities, but I feel sometimes that my abilities would have been better spent on a different person. In a way, I don't feel like I can live up to what my abilities are. So then it's always that balance, you know.
Well, what Saguru says is, if we don't do what we cannot do, that's not a tragedy. But if we don't do what we can do, that's a tragedy.
You're bumming me out.
But that's the thing, is no one lives up to their expectations. And then we see people like Hawkins and
Sure.
these other people that they didn't get the help they need to even cope with the fact that they're successful. Because all these people that even made it big, like Elvis, I think he loathed himself.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
He said at the end, I only know 3 chords. And, I mean, even Elvis, who people say is like the king of rock and roll.
Yeah, there's nothing you'd rather be.
Yeah, and then even he was not impressed by himself. That reminds me of when Jim Morrison sent a note to Jerry Garcia saying, I want to meet you after the show. I really want to meet you. I'm really impressed by you and all stuff. And Jerry wrote back, I decline meeting you because I'm not impressed by you or your talent. But don't take it bad because I'm less impressed by my own.
Oh, right.
So I thought that was a insightful kind of exchange.
That's heavy.
And just, touring with some people that made it, like Jay Giles and stuff like that, who showed me all different sides of himself and was very humble in a way where he'd be like, those guys, Seth Justman and Peter, they're the ones that came up with some of the great ideas for the band, and they told me what to play. But then on another day, you might catch him, and he'd feel like it was because of him they made it. And so I'm sure that someone told me that about the way that the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead looked at one another. On certain days, they compliment each other, and other days, they'd be like, those guys are no good. You know?
Yeah.
So it depends on the given day, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, we'll never figure it out.
No, but it is an abyss of information that, all the people you and I played with together, apart, how our friendship is still there despite all kinds of ups and downs we both experienced, and still finding ourselves and still alive and making music, which a lot of people tell me that the casualties of this business is, and the lifespan of people that really commit themselves to being a musician is really not as long as people think.
Yeah, right.
And I was reading on Facebook yesterday that a lot of musicians were quitting the road because they said they couldn't hack it.
Yeah.
After they spent 30 years getting the record out, getting the agent that booked them nationally, within 6 months of doing shows, like, this is killing me. I'm going home. And I thought it was just ironic to me to say, so the things you aspired, be careful what you want, because if you get it, you better be prepared for it.
Oh, boy.
That's why, we're lucky. We can still work and you can see your wife. I could see my wife and kids.
Yeah, kind of. That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's just balance, keeping it all balanced and not too disappointed with any particular thing. I don't know if this is relevant, but I thought this was funny. So when I was young and trying to figure it out, listening to records, listening to music, and I think my sister probably had this record, but Running on Empty, that was,
great album.
And and I was like, oh man, Russ Kunkel, I loved his playing. I was like, I want to be one of these cats, and I would look at the record and, oh man, Running on Empty. And it's like the saddest album in the world. I want to go home,
it's
waiting
dark.
at the loading dock. It's just like, it's the saddest road record of all time. And I remember being very confused because I was like, well, this is the life for me. Like, this is the life that I feel like I'm heading towards. But they look so sad. Like, they don't want to do this. Like, I'm like, oh man, I hope that doesn't happen to me. But I hope that happens to me. But I hope it doesn't happen. I'm just not sure. And anyway, just through weird circumstances, years later, I played with Danny Cooch. I played with the dude that was on the record. And, we played for, I don't know, close to 10 years, I think. And he was really cool. He was a really nice guy. And after a certain point, I asked him about that. I was like, was it really that bad? Because I told him the whole story, and he goes, what? And I go, well, every song is about wanting to go home, and you had to record the song on the bus and song in the hotel. And it is like the saddest thing in the world. And I told him the whole story. I go, I would be so confused because I felt like that was supposed to be my life, but it looked like the whole record was saying, don't do this. And he goes, are you kidding me? That was the best times of my life. That tour was a month, and then I was home. He goes, that was the best time ever. And I'm like, oh.
So the message of the song didn't reflect
right.
the message.
That's what I mean. It was saying like, kids, stay away. Stay away.
Right.
And so, anyway, in some weird kind of way, I realized at a certain point, I played with him. We were at Bridge Street, and I was playing with him and Eddie, and Tim McDonald, and I'm playing with him, which was cool because I was like, all right, you know, I'm this thing that I thought I was, and I'm getting the
right,
and I'm playing the gig, and I go, so here I am playing with this dude, and my mom and my wife are here, and I get to play with him and then go home tonight.
Right.
I'm like, I kind of won just for today.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, the playing thing, I got there.
Sure.
But I didn't have to.
You didn't have to kill yourself to do that. Yeah.
In that moment, you know, I was just like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, this kind of works. But yeah, it was just funny because I mean, I would always hear that record and go, oh man, I hope that doesn't happen to me. But I hope it happens to me because that's what you hope for.
Yeah.
That's confusing.
Well, and then here, the irony of you really getting taken back by the album and playing with someone that was part of your
bizarre
dreams when you were a kid.
Yeah, you've had that experience.
Yeah, definitely. And it brings to mind when the Commitments guitar player Kenny had a heart attack, and he couldn't do like 50 shows. They called me to go do like 50 nights in like 50 states with them.
Oh boy!
And I didn't know if I could do it physically.
Sure.
But I did, and then I realized after like the third night, they were all from Dublin. They were getting big money every night, and they were drinking like they were the Rolling Stones.
Oh, man.
And everybody's sleeping on the bus, and they're all chain smoking cigarettes all night long.
Yeah.
So you're like, every time you took a breath to sleep, it was like bringing in like 2 packs
You're
of
breathing
butts.
in Dublin, all of Dublin.
And I said to myself, like after a week, I go, some nights I said, or some mornings I said to myself, there's no way I can play tonight. I'm just shot.
Really?
And I didn't drink or anything. And I said to the manager, always to Dick, I go, listen, Dick, I got to get a room and I got to sleep for 8 hours, or I'm not going
to have smoke-free
air.
I
got to lie down, or I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm a little older than you guys. I already been through the booze and the drugs.
Sure.
And I said, you guys are all young and from Dublin and all happy.
Right.
I said, I got to, he says, Jeff, anytime you need a room, just let me know. Nobody cares. I'll buy you a room. You get your sleep.
That's cool.
So if that didn't happen,
right.
I think I would have died.
Yeah. and they would have been fine.
Yeah, we'll get another guy in 5 minutes. He was really good. Who's next?
Right.
You know, but
that's to be young.
Like
I think about it too.
The second show with them was like the Don Imus show.
Oh wow!
We were on Don Imus playing live, and everybody, and it was at the John Oldham Theater in Boston because it was St. Patty's Day, and we drove from BB King's in New York straight there after the gig, and everybody was lying in the shower. Sleeping in the shower of the theater with their dress clothes on just to sleep for an hour before the shooting.
Oh my God.
So the manager says to Don Imus, band was played BB King's last night. They're a little tired. He goes, I don't care if they better kick ass on my show. I don't want to hear excuses. They're on the dime. So Don was taken back. The guy was making excuses for maybe the band not looking exactly chipper on St. Pat. Then we went to another gig at the Black Rose right from there and went on at noon. And then went to another place that night. It was like, I am telling you, I don't know how I got through that. They didn't tell me till after the tour that the dress code was black and white. I wore the same purple, almost like looked like a purple blue canary Miami suit for like 50 days straight and didn't wash it. Oof. And because I just didn't have time.
Yeah.
And I'd be playing these gigs and I go,
What is that?
Is that me?
Yeah.
That can't be me.
You created new smells. Bad. You're like, I know all my smells. That's
this was like this was a fermented like weeks of fermentation. That's what I knew. I go, man, this is rough. I go, when this is over, I'm probably going to sleep really well.
Yikes.
And but just like the example you said, I was like, this is all fun. Then we're like in these casinos and like way up in Canada, and there's just 3 feet of snow, and they had you couldn't. Only certain musicians could go out after and talk.
Right.
They didn't want everybody. They had all these rules.
Sure.
So I was starting to get a little crazy because I'm like, I just want to talk to somebody besides
right.
our not that
I can't even understand.
It's
what
not like
saying.
I didn't dislike anybody. I just needed a break from just talking to the same 12 people.
Oh yeah.
And it was like forbidden. I was like, oh man, this is getting weird. So I would ride next to the bus driver a lot up in the front just to talk to somebody different. But no, it was a good experience. But definitely a lot of people thought that the Commitments had written all those soul songs.
Sure.
Like Soul Man and Mustang Side. They came out with that record that Steve Cropper produced. And they had all this airplay and everything.
So they re-upped it.
Yeah, they re-upped it. Yeah, and so.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I used to, I do miss, I'm not on the road like I used to be. Last time I was kind of really on the road like that was with you. And I do relate to a degree. I kind of miss, I had these little secret lives that no one knew about. In Woonsocket, I would walk across the bridge, and there was, a coffee place over there. In Dante's Inferno, back behind the parking lot, you went up a hill, and there was a basketball court.
Okay.
I had all these secrets.
I know what you mean, because you were just gathering your head, and
I had secret. There was in New Jersey.
The Stanhope House.
The Stanhope. There was a bookstore I used to hit. I had all these secret little.
Because we would do sound check and then we'd all divide and
and I'd just be like, I'm gonna go hit the joint.
Yeah,
just because I kind of miss that sometimes.
But those were fun times.
Yeah.
But there was always pressure on us to succeed.
Yeah.
And it's all a big blur now. Sometimes you remember some of the specifics.
Yeah.
Like the time at McDonald's or the Winnebago that Eddie and Lorraine would bring, and we'd have their Winnebago. And, just those fun times, but I wouldn't trade it. I'd do it again, I guess. I mean, it was, like you said, we had the best of both worlds. In
a way,
we still had our fun. We still could see the people that we needed to see to stay sane.
Right. Yeah, you're not away
away. And if you're gonna do it, even if you have a brand new bus, it's still not easy.
Yeah, that's what they say.
I mean,
it seems to me like you got to make a hard run when you're young and you're not attached, and you kind of get your thing up and running, and then you can deal with it. Where for us, I'm just like,
if someone offered you say the Stones offered you that, and Steve Jordan said, I can't do it, I'm too old, and you're like, I'll go do it.
I'm
it's
not
the Stones.
Young either. Yeah, maybe, but but by the same token, it's funny. In a fantastical sense. But then I literally think about it. I go, so Paula's going to come home to an empty house. Like she's going to go to work and come home.
Yeah.
And the house is empty and I'm not there.
Right.
For months and months. And
I know.
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to.
A lot of these guys, like that's why BB said he was never married in his book.
Right.
Because he said, you can't keep a real relationship when you're touring like that. It's not fair to the person you're living with. It's not fair to you. And then, I wonder how a lot of guys pull it off because
I don't know. Well, you've been married a long time.
Yeah, my wife's a saint though. She
mine too.
Except lately.
Lately,
she's putting.
Hey, thanks for coming. I just saved your.
Yeah, she knows I'm kidding,
but
no,
of course.
I remember one time I was on like Picozzi and the Horn Show on like HCN, and they're like, these girls would call up and say, "Yeah, I went and saw him at Chuck's Eller." Sure. In the Civic Center, and they'd go, "Did he hit on you?"
Oh,
and then,
no.
And then they'd go, "No." And then I'd say to them on the break, "What are you trying to do? Get me in trouble with my girlfriend or whatever?" Yeah. They're like, "No, we're just trying to make the show interesting." So then I get home, and my wife goes, "You should have made up all this stuff." I go, "Really?"
Cool.
Yeah, because if I did, I said, if I did, then you'd be like, "Who was that?"
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's so funny.
It's almost like these people write books. That guy who won that, remember there was a guy who won the bestseller book. He was on Oprah.
It was all bullshit. He wasn't a drug addict.
Yeah.
James Frey.
Oh, that's it. James Frey. Yeah, he got caught. But so many people, I'm sure, have told you should write all the experiences you've had down and make a book. And I said, yeah, I would, but I'd probably try to embellish it to make it more interesting too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, I guess some of the crazy experience I've had was like when Jay Giles and Phil Lesh were in the dressing room and I knew it was going to happen. Yeah. And they started talking. I never turn on my recorder on my phone.
Sure.
I did because I said, this is going to be interesting. Yeah. And like Jay said something like, so how old are you, Phil? And he's like, I'm 74. How old are you? He's like, oh, I'm 70. Oh, really? Jay goes, you must have not really partied that much. I mean, you look pretty good. And he goes, you obviously know nothing about the Grateful Dead. And then Jay goes, we always thought you guys sucked anyway.
Oh, really? Mr. Centerfold?
Yeah.
Let's go back.
Yeah, so then, which I learned from that experience, that the Grateful Dead has dealt with criticism many times before because they're so unique and people either love them or hate them.
Yeah.
And that made Phil want to play with us like 5 nights in a row.
Oh, wow.
Because most musicians are like, oh, I'm so honored to meet. I hope we could play Scarlet Begonias together. Sure. And he was just like, man, I don't care if you sit in with us tonight or not. So it's almost like reverse psychology, like with a girl. You act like you don't care, and then she comes back.
Dude.
But you say you care.
That's exactly that's how my whole marriage went.
What, you had to act like you didn't care?
I'll try to make it quick.
That's all right.
Sweeter Than Wine at the Tiger.
Yeah.
And Paula was there. She's from Manchester. She was hanging out. And I saw her, she was there a few times in a row, and I kind of talked to her. And, oh, hey, so what brings you around? She's like, well, I have a crush on someone in the band. I thought she liked one of the girls. Oh, geez. I just did, because it was not that kind of scene.
Not me. That was her indirect saying, I like you.
No idea. Yeah. And so I smoked her out, because I just said, I figured, whatever, and I ignored her. And then after a while, it's probably, she'll listen to this and go, it's not even, but something like that. And then she's finally just like, are you going to ask me out? And I'm like, what? She's like, I told you I had a crush on someone. I said, I thought it was one of the girls. She's like, no, you. And I'm like, oh. Wow. But I was playing hard to get without knowing it, which kind of worked out, because if I thought she was available, I would have blown it like all the other ones. I would have laid my rap on her. But I just figured she's out of the picture, so I was just normal.
And how long you been with her now?
That was 1994. So how long ago was that?
20 to almost 20.
We broke up for a while. I think she would probably say 96.
Almost 30 years.
96 was when we kind of locked it in.
Wow.
Yeah.
So. I remember your wedding.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there.
Yeah. That was fun. It
goes by, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. That was 15 years ago. 15, 16. But yeah, well,
that's a good thing it lasted this long, that you've made it through the hard times.
Stay tuned. But no, but that's the thing too. You talk about dreams. I start to realize, I'm like, well, and you must know this because you guys are still doing it. Marriage. It's like that's not easy either. No. And I realize, but I think, that's easy. So my dream is music, and I go, no, your dream was your relationship, because that's what you devoted your energy to. In reality, I'm like, that was a dream of mine. I thought, I want the one girl and it'll be awesome.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the actual dream that you made come true. The music thing was kinda, but I'm like, yeah, but me and Paula, I'm sure you and Betsy have been here many times. Sometimes we joke about something. We go, this is where people would break up. Like at this point, you'd be like, I'm out. But we still keep it together. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, you're fighting for this thing. This is your dream. So,
that's like Seguro says, a relationship is an ongoing thing. You're not like happy today.
Oh, yeah, no.
I think that's it's how you treat each other today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody to tolerate us is a saint, because
I don't know how
I'm not easy to live with.
I don't know how she does, how Paula does it.
I have a hard time living with me.
No, I mean, I don't know how Betsy does it.
No, I mean, I don't know how.
No, it's true.
Well, If anyone can relate, we know how each other lives from being on the road together. Could you imagine a woman having to put up with that? I mean, no. But she does sometimes say, "What are you doing at 6 o'clock in the morning while I'm sleeping?" That's her way of saying, "How could you sleep when there's all this that needs to be done?" I'm like, "Oh, I got in it." Like that particular day, they're just not feeling it like that compassion. Like, oh, maybe he has a different schedule than me, but that's just part of living with somebody. I mean. I guess I can't complain. I can't.
I mean, I'm, I feel like given the choice, I would have chosen this because you think that the marriage is going to take care of it. Like you say,
it's going to just take care of itself, but it's an ongoing process.
Well, I just thought of that. I said, well, Paula's my friend. I don't want her coming home.
Right.
Although half the time, I'm sure she would love to come home to an empty house.
Yeah, if it was, that's why you'd be selective of like a 1 month run or a 3 week run,
ideally,
or an 8 week run.
Ideally,
and a lot of musicians are able to create their schedule so they can. And that's what I try to do. I try to, make it for a period of time where it's not going to be too long, where I get frustrated or whatever. But I like the way the Dead book their shows, like by climate. Because they were so famous, they're just like, it has to be 72 everywhere we go. So it's like,
Wow. So they consult, they have.
So they can wear their short sleeve shirts and their shorts wherever they went. And they wore that on stage. Wow. Yeah. But,
wow. Imagine that.
Imagine having the thing where it's like, tell your agent, it's got to be 74 or I'm not showing up.
Yeah, right. Wow.
And then it's like so many stories of you and I who know guys who work behind the scenes and sound people who work with all kinds of stars and hear all these stories. And this kid, Brian, who is sound man from like Newport, he was working for Van Morrison and he's like, it's like 30 degrees out. And his van's like, who the hell booked me here? It's 30 degrees out. This is ridiculous. In other words, he didn't want to play somewhere where it was that cold. But he is actually that famous where he could say that.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, like you said, we both have a lot of the same experiences with a lot of the same people too. I mean, what was a Buzzy? Remember that other alter? You had a couple alter
Buzzy
egos.
Neon way back.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. Yeah. Whatever happened to him? Is he put away?
Buzzy Neon is a karaoke host now.
Oh, and then there was Satan. What happened to him? How are you still talking to Matt?
No. Oh, sure. Yeah. Matt called me last night.
Okay.
Me and Matt are still,
buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Lucky Dog, the place up there in Worcester, is a pile of rubble, unfortunately.
Oh, it is,
it just happened a couple weeks ago. It's sad.
Was that Sir Morgan's before
It
that?
was Sir Morgan's.
Okay. We used to play there.
What's funny is it took me a year. All right, so place in Worcester. So what happened was they often do, like they did in Hartford, they built a stadium and they raised that whole neighborhood for parking or something. I just bought everybody out.
Right.
Took down. And it's sad because, Eric, the guy who owned it when we played there, hadn't owned it in, 5-6 years or something like that. The last owners, the landlord sold it to the town or whatever to make the parking lot. So they knew it was going to get torn down, but then the day when you drive by and it's just a pile of rubble, you're like, well, there it goes. But the Stones played there.
Yeah.
And it's funny. So the Stones played at this small club, and I mean small, smaller than Toads.
Right.
Like small, but rock and roll, like CBGBs.
Yeah.
Like a rock and roll.
It had a vibe.
Yeah. And it had a pole in the, not in the middle of the stage, but off to the side. And I remember when I was a kid, so the Stones played there in 80 or 81 or something like that. And it was famous in Worcester for years, the Stones played there. And I went, and I used to have Cream magazine, and there would be these pictures of the Stones in a small club, but they're, steel wheels Stones.
Right.
And I never put two and two together ever until, I finally, would hear, the Stones played here. And then I was probably when I was moving, looking through the old Cream magazine. I look at the same picture that I've seen since I was, 14. I go, that's the Lucky Dog. And I'm like, now it makes sense. There's the door. Right. And I'm like, all these pictures that I've seen.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, that's the Lucky Dog. Now I get it. That's Sir Morgan's Cove. So anyway.
Were you as upset as I was when Charlie died?
Yeah.
That broke my heart.
That's sad. That's freaking sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
I always thought that he was really the unsung hero of the band.
I have a fun. I actually, I agree, and I have a funny story about me and you. So I'm not a Stones person.
Yeah.
I like the Stones, but it's not my thing.
Right.
And when I started playing with you, I'm always like, all right, let me figure this out. You know, and I try to play a certain way, and I go, it's kind of working, it's not quite working. I don't understand why this isn't working. And then you would talk about the Stones, like that was your thing. And I, well, let me try the thing.
Yeah, to pick up the.
And as soon as I started playing like Charlie, our groove went. I was like, that's it, because you were playing Stones and I was playing Beatles.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, okay, so. Thanks to you, I added Stones to my bag because I was like, because it's just trying to find how to play together. Like, how does it work? And I go, and you play to me too, to a degree, but there were certain feels where I just thought, okay, I got to there's something I don't know. Let me figure it out. And that was a Charlie thing. And that's when I really started to appreciate Charlie more. I was like, oh, that's cool, because there's some things only that will, that it'll, like I go through my, Bunny Carlos, Ringo, let me try this, let me try that. And then when and Charlie's another one, you go, well, let me try that. And sometimes it works. That's the thing.
You don't know why sometimes things lock.
Yep.
But certainly you and I played so many different styles of music.
Yeah.
We would kind of look at each other like that's happening or that's not happening.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned from playing with so many different drummers is everybody has their different perception of time.
Sure.
And it's just crazy how some guys are so behind the beat that they're making everybody in the band like almost fall off the cliff, going and hurting muscles in their body trying to get. And then the other guy's on top of it, and
and you're trying to slow it down.
And you're just trying to find a happy medium. But and all the music, like Eddie. Like, here's Eddie Corvo, just to bring up our mutual friend. Sure. Here's a guy, probably one of the best bass players around.
Yep.
And he's definitely done it all on his terms.
Sure.
So he could raise his family and have his marriage and work a day job and then take the gigs he wants to take and everything. So I respect Eddie for that. Is he crazy? Yes.
Sure. Are we all?
Yeah,
yes.
We're all crazy. Remember we were in Maine and he's like...
yeah.
He ordered like a Bloody Mary at the restaurant and stopped the whole place.
Or left his drink out overnight on top of his bass cabinet. Yeah, because we
left our gear set up
right where I left it. Sitting there, there's dust in it.
Spring break, Eddie.
Oh yeah,
Eddie. That's right. We all went up to Maine and did shows, and God, Maine is crazy. That these places up there, the people party up there.
Yep. No, I remember. I don't want to run out of time.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so much we didn't talk about.
I know.
So who were some of your like musical heroes? Like who turned you on? Like just guitar wise, you're like, this is where I'm gonna go.
Yeah, that's a hard thing. I think as we get older, it gets wider and wider. But
sure.
I still think Freddie King, Albert King, and
yeah.
BB are for the three of people to learn from.
Sure.
Then like Stevie and Hendrix, of course. And then I like Johnny Guitar Watson. I think that he didn't use a pick, and he invented funk and went from being a blues guy. So I listened to a lot of that. But I listen like you. I listen to everything.
Sure.
I listen to a lot of Bob Dylan, and it makes me real sad, especially when he plays by himself.
Yeah.
And even I listen to some Dead.
Sure.
And so I'm still practicing. Like I said, I have a rehearsal studio that I go to every day. I practice and I write. Cool. And some people have been hiring me to write songs.
Oh, that's cool.
And I wrote this song called Alcohol. It's a country tune. And we made a video of it, and you can check it out on YouTube, but it's about people drinking till they fall down.
Oh, nice.
It's called Alcohol.
Sure.
And so that's... and that's been surprisingly successful.
Sure.
We got Dave to laugh.
Yeah,
it is funny, Dave. If you see the video,
I didn't see it.
There's some actors in there that were hired professional actors that like fall down authentically.
Oh, wow.
But they ironically shot the video at the brewery we're playing at May 14th in Granby, the Mapleview Brewery. And then those actors left. And then by the end of the show, they didn't need any actors.
Right. Everybody
people were falling down drunk. So not to condone drunk driving or any of that, but that's just another crazy story. But
wow,
yeah,
that's nuts. Desert Island albums.
Desert Island, okay.
Just a few, like that you would take with you.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, that's great.
I know. No one can.
Freddie King, Texas Cannonball, B.B.
Nice.
King live at the Regal.
Sure.
Carole King, Tapestry, any Jackson Brown, any Bob Dylan, any Hendrix.
Okay.
I like Zepp like you like Zepp, but, I've heard it just so much.
Sure. I know, it's hard to.
I can't even hear another Billy Joel song. I'll die.
Right. I know what you mean.
So
it's hard to.
Bill Withers.
Sure.
Who else? Stevie Wonder. We both like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
James Brown.
I don't want to throw Jim Chamberlain under the bus.
Oh, when he dropped off that girl because she didn't like the same music as Jim.
All right, I'll try to make it quick. So Jim, I guess it's probably not right, but swinging 70s, whatever, Mr. Cool, one night stands, and
was this Dancing with Henry at the Cape?
Who knows? Probably, yeah. And he picks up some girl. And he's going to bring her back to his pad, Mr. Smooth, slips in the Stevie Wonder 8-track, driving down the road, and she's like, oh, God, I hate Stevie Wonder. I can't stand his voice. He just turns the car around. This is not going to work. Yeah, I can't even have a one-night stand with someone.
He could have Chappaquiddick gone underneath the bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
And then left her in the car.
God. But could you imagine, you're not even worthy for me to hate myself in the morning. If you don't like Stevie Wonder, I don't even want to have a one-night stand.
Yeah,
this isn't going to work.
This is guy stuff 101.
Yeah.
He should have persuaded her why it was great.
Yeah, well.
Maybe.
Yeah, but
that's be my perspective.
I think, knowing Jim, he probably, I'm embellished, but he probably just the night's still young.
Yes, there's another one.
Yeah,
who's going to like the kind of music I like?
Reset. I'll just go back to the club.
I guess because musicians are so passionate about what they like.
Oh, man.
And if a girl says something about a band that you really are affectionate for, you're just like, I can never like you in a million years.
Yeah. No, yeah.
It was almost like when my wife asked me to take her to see Billy Joel.
Sure.
I said to her, that's grounds for divorce.
Oh, really?
She's like, what do you mean? I go, I just can't go, man.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I just can't. And I'm sorry to say this
on
on your show.
Yeah, whatever.
But I'm very opinionated about music. And there's certain songs I like that he does.
Sure. Yeah.
But I just can't go. I have troubles with being around crowds and all that stuff. I go see Santana.
Sure.
I go see Bob Dylan. If someone comes around, I'll put up with all that idiosyncrasies.
But you're not going to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm not going to deal with all that nonsense.
And especially, no offense, but at Billy Joel, everyone's going to be a loudmouth.
Oh, they're all going to sing along with it. I remember when I always cite you when it's like, and Captain Jack will get you.
Oh, yeah.
When you do your imitation of Bill. I think you're partially responsible for me not liking Billy Joel anymore because you pointed out to me.
Really? I don't remember this.
But you pointed out to me why certain songs were bad.
Oh, really?
But it's not that I dislike his music. I just don't want to go there.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Is that bad to say?
I
don't know.
Hey, man.
We might as well be honest. It's a podcast.
Right. No, I've grown. I shouldn't say grown out of, but yeah, Billy Joel.
I like Don't Go Change, and I like that song. And there's certain songs I like.
Sure.
Uptown Girl, no.
Right.
I could name a bunch of them that I just
don't. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's what we should do.
I'm annoyed.
The podcast should just be like, name that sarcastic tune.
Well, he's like, by the time he count the song off, I'm already like clicked. Yeah. I'm already annoyed.
It's a shtick.
God bless us all.
I mean, this is America. We can actually agree to not like somebody.
Sure.
I arranged the video when he did it on the railroad bridge down for River of Dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
Okay. I arranged that so he could come out there.
So that's your fault. So Dave is saying that he helped with the location.
To have Billy Joel come down there?
Billy Joel. Yeah, that was in Middletown.
I'll never speak to you again.
Wow.
The music video was
I'll never speak to you.
Danny Cooch produced that song.
He did?
He did.
Wow.
They're all on the list.
Sorry, Danny.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you all made the list.
I love all your work, Danny.
Yeah,
especially
sure.
It must be somebody. She must be somebody's baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool that you work with the Cooch, because I remember Kim Wilson saying to me, "I'm using Korchmeyer to produce my next record."
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I know he worked with the T-Birds, and he
Yeah,
produced a lot of big stuff.
Yeah, we did something.
Some of his T-Bird stuff.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's whatever.
Like he does a show of everybody he worked
yeah,
with.
yeah. So it's weird. It's
like a compilation.
He says this about they got the immediate family, all the
oh yeah, I saw
he's
that.
like it's like a cover band, but we wrote all these songs.
Yeah.
So you're just like, the only time I would ever be in a band that plays All She Wants to Do Is Dance.
Yeah.
Because the dude wrote it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, okay. Well,
I saw the video of that, and they said this is the only band that everybody's been in James Taylor's band fired twice.
Right.
Yeah, the immediate family. Those are all like the heavy guns. Yeah. Korchmeyer and
Lee
Waddy
Sklar.
Watchell and Lee Sklar.
Yeah, Russ Kunkel.
Those guys are all like on everybody's albums.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Crazy. Desert island food.
Pizza.
Sure.
Mangoes.
Oh, nice. Okay. Ever mango on a pizza? That's not done.
Nah, maybe we invent that. No, how about you? What would you have?
Oh man, I don't know. Mexican, anything.
I like Mexican food.
It's Taco Tuesday.
Ooh, Taco Tuesday.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Is it? Oh,
it's Tuesday. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Far out. Oh, I was gonna say. Oh yeah. So I'm setting myself up for an anthropological adventure. My nephews, who are they're a little crispy on the edges. Unc, you got to come. We're gonna take you to see fish. I was like, yeah, you will. I'm like, I'm not gonna do drugs, but yeah, I'll go. He said he'll do it. He's gonna. They want me to experience it because they keep telling me how great it is, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I've whatever. It's a whole other conversation.
Well, I've had a lot of conversations,
but I just said, you know
myself.
what? I'll go to just check the whole thing out, just to be like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it, and I'll check it out. But they're all excited. Oh, Unc's gonna go.
This hasn't happened yet.
No.
See, I watched a lot of videos because a lot of friends I have like them and everything.
I just don't.
And technically, they're all great musicians, I think.
Sure.
But I always felt, and I shouldn't say this, but
sure.
I always felt they should hire a lead singer.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, I just couldn't.
Because it's sort of like Dave Matthews Band. They all have they're wicked great players.
Sure.
But it's like nobody cares that the vocals are okay.
Yeah.
And the audience doesn't care that the vocals are okay.
Cause the audience are hearing their own.
It's not
vocals.
about the vocals. It's the scene. Vibe. You're going for the scene. Like the Dead. I always thought that the Dead never paid attention to the keys they were singing the songs in. If it was way out of their range, that didn't stop them from singing the song. Right. Your voice could crack. The voice could be going like.
Yeah, they don't care.
They didn't care. It was it was sincere. Sincerely off. And my music teacher, John Sales, what was her name? Janice Fisher. A girl I grew up with, brought the Dead album to our 8th grade music class.
Oh boy.
And he critiqued the daylights out of them. Like, the harmonies are completely off. The guitars are out of tune. This is disgusting. And he was so accomplished as a musician that Yes had made him an offer, the band Yes, to actually be in the band.
Wow.
And he chose to just teach music.
And he said no.
And he was throwing the Dead on. Yes, he said no to Yes. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Wow. That's the whole thing about him, was he said no to Yes.
What if we could get him up here?
I think we can. I think he lives in North Carolina right now.
Boy,
but he does come back to Connecticut. But he won a lot of national awards for not only my class having 30 kids all become musicians.
Yeah.
A lot of generations of musicians had him as a teacher in Wethersfield and went on to make a living playing music.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because of him.
Yeah.
And he was very humble about that, And
Yeah.
He'd actually take school money and go to Trot Nossel and pay to have us record and to learn the recording process. And
that's great.
He'd make you become friends with studio people. He made those relationships happen. And it's all coming to me now how, my father was mad at him because I quit sports because of him.
Right.
I was playing soccer, then I was in that band. I'm like, oh, I can't play soccer anymore.
Yeah,
Everybody quit sports in our junior high school to be in the rock band.
Maybe that was his whole point.
That was he just like, there goes the sports program.
Yeah, we had a dude, I grew up in Wallingford, Mr. Rosamundo. He was like that.
Yeah.
He would you wanted to be with him. He's cool. He had long hair.
Right,
he was into
right.
it.
That's what he was.
You were like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then Vic was that guy for me. I was taking drum lessons, and he would take me to all his he would call up my parents and go, I'm going to take John on Saturday. I have a recording session. He should be there. I want to show him how everything works. And he would just take me for a day, and I would just kind of check it out. So he was cool. He just kind of was like, let me get you involved in all of this.
Yeah, he's the bad he's the good and bad influence.
The good and bad, yeah.
Yeah, like there was a band called jeez, what's their name?
We're gonna run out of time.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Let me think of it.
Vic.
It's called
When was this?
When I was in 7th grade, I roadied for a band who did a lot of CCR. They were like full-blown hippies.
Yeah.
Mitch Pernardi was the drummer. Steve Margolis was the singer. And they'd pick me up in this old van.
Yeah, sure.
And I would just roadie for them because I wanted to be a musician, and they were looking for roadies at the junior high. And they were really, really good with the Steamroller. Everybody. And they had gigs in all kinds of places.
Wow.
And if my parents saw what I was doing with them, they would be like, what the heck?
Yeah, right.
You know, but, man, Mitch is starting to play again. He was a drummer, and he sang.
Oh, wow.
And he could drum, and he could sing with a lot of soul. They used to do, like, Young Blood.
Sure.
And he could sing that, and then he could play it. And I was just like, wow, man, these guys are just like...
Yeah.
And they all wore, like, black vests, leather vests, with nothing else, and jeans.
Sure.
And they all were in shape, and they had long hair, and they were real hippies. And they played all these gigs, and I was like, I want to be just like them, man.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were in your own way?
Oh, absolutely. I felt like,
as cool as...
Yeah, I think so. As far as that can ever go.
Sure,
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, I mean, I think that they had a profound influence. Dave Rommel was the guitar player, and he was in the Daily Planet. That was the first real money making gig I got. And Dave lives in Portland, and he retired from there, and he trained me and showed me all the songs, and he still carried on and booked the band. That's when I really realized that he was like way before his time. He was still kind of a kid, but even leaving that band, he wanted them to still be successful, and he left and then still booked it and still marketed it and still was friends with everybody, but just wasn't committed to it anymore.
Right.
And he brought me in, and then we did a lot of weddings, and I just learned a lot from him and the rest of the guys. And they had a girl singer, and we did a lot of weddings and everything, but he, before the Daily Planet, he was a rocker. I mean, he was a real rocker, and he could play, he could sing, he could write, he could.
Sure, he'd never owned a shirt, only vest.
He definitely had long black beard and long hair, and just a black vest. It was just like, you just can picture it. So back then in the 70s, that was like kind of normal.
Sure.
It's like now if you do, it's like, who's this killer?
Yeah, doesn't he own a shirt?
Yes.
Yeah, what's up with this dude? Yeah, I hear you. All right,
well, this is fun, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for having me.
Why not?
Fun.
Why not?
Yeah.
I like I say, I don't. The window's open, and this is just for posterity's sake. I don't know how many people even listen. I care, but I just I figure we'll get everybody's story, and you're part of the Connecticut scene for sure.
As well as you. We go back a long way. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, of course.
So good to see you.
Well, we'll come back.
Absolutely.
Because we've also been around the horn. We've been a year, so I just tell people because I get people. Oh man, I forgot to just book it again. Yeah, and we do repeats now.
Sure.
We've gone around the planet once. Whatever revolves around what we went around the sun. I don't know. I was never good at that. All right, we're gonna get going.
All right.
Jeff Pitchell was here. He was here.
Thanks, John Peckman.
Yeah, man. Of course, absolutely. Jeff Pitchell was our guest today. John Peckman Podcast, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, beautiful downtown Portland. Come through over the bridge, behind the lights, over the Sorry, it's been a long couple weeks. I'm fine, by the way, everybody. I had COVID, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everyone's okay. Listen, Dave will tell you how to have your very own podcast here in our beautiful studio. And we'll see you later. That is all.
If you'd like to start your own podcast, give us a call at Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance. Our professionally designed podcast space is here for all your recording needs. Rent out our studio to do interviews with up to 4 people, to record audiobooks, social media content, and all other recorded material. Our rentals include a private studio along with our professional-grade podcasting equipment, and we can customize your output to whatever your needs are. We also have green screen capabilities, which will expand to video capability if you so wish. So check us out here at convalley.net.